Welcome to my channel, Department of Chemistry, University of Kashmir. Today we will start the unit second of spectroscopy paper, that is NMR spectroscopy, and today we will discuss the basic principle of NMR spectroscopy. And before we proceed ahead, we will discuss some basics. We apply these basics to in the principle, and so that we will understand the principle of NMR spectroscopy very well. So let us start. Principle of NMR spectroscopy. Okay, let us start first some basics, then we will go ahead. Suppose we have a charged particle. Charge can be either positive or charge can be either negative. Okay, if a charged particle is in rest, this charged particle has a tendency to create an electric field. Suppose we have a three cases. First, if a charged particle, I will take a positive charge can be positive or charge can be negative. Both the charges will create the same field. Suppose I am taking the positive charge. If this charged particle is in rest, I will write here, if a charged particle is in rest, this charged particle has tendency to create a field around itself like this. This is the field around the charge. This field is known as an electric field. Okay, this is our case first. Our case second is this: if a charged particle is in uniform motion, that means its motion neither increase nor decrease, but it is in the uniform motion. Suppose we have a charged particle. Okay, this charged particle is in uniform motion. Then this charged particle has a tendency to create field around itself. This field is known as a magnetic field. This is the arrows that I am making around the charge. This is the field, that is the magnetic field around the charged particle. Okay, so this field is known as a magnetic field. Okay, and our case third is we have a charged particle, positive charged particle. If the charged particle is in accelerated motion, that means its velocity is either increasing continuously or decreasing continuously. This is accelerated motion. If the charged particle is in accelerated motion, it has a tendency to create or to generate a changing electric field. That means if a charged particle is in accelerated motion, accelerated motion, then this charged particle will create a changing electric field like this. Or we can say the oscillating electric field. This oscillating electric field has a tendency to create or to generate a changing magnetic field of equal magnitude and in perpendicular direction. Okay, so we discussed the three cases. If a charged particle is in rest, it will generate an electric field around itself. If a charged particle is in motion, it will uniform motion, it will generate a magnetic field around itself. But if charged particle is in accelerated motion, it will generate changing electric field, or we can say oscillating electric field. We write here oscillating electric field. This oscillating electric field has a tendency to generate changing magnetic field or oscillating magnetic field of equal magnitude in the perpendicular direction. This is known as electromagnetic radiation. So we say that we make a general term that accelerated charged particles will generate electromagnetic radiation. Okay, we all of know that today, but I am discussing over the focus is towards the NMR spectroscopy, so we will discuss the NMR spectroscopy. In this spectroscopy, there are many NMR spectroscopies like C13 NMR, H1 NMR, F19 NMR, but our focus will remain towards the H1 NMR spectroscopy. If we understand the H1 NMR spectroscopy, then we will automatically understand all the NMR spectroscopy like C13, F19, and that which are available. And we all of know that our nucleus, hydrogen nucleus, is a charged particle. Case first that it is a charged particle, okay, and this nucleus is spinning around the z-axis. Suppose this is our nucleus, positive charged nucleus, okay, and this nucleus is spinning. This is our z-axis, okay. This charged particle is spinning around the z-axis in a uniform velocity. That means if a charged particle is in uniform velocity, what it will generate? It will generate the magnetic moment. So general term is that our nucleus is associated with the magnetic moment. Suppose this is our nucleus, okay, and it is the magnetic moment. I am showing this arrow because this magnetic moment is a vector quantity having the direction along the z-axis and has a magnitude and is equal to the magnitude mu. This magnetic moment, the magnitude is equal to the mu n g n I into I plus 1 raised power 1 by 2. This is the magnitude associated with the magnetic moment, okay. But we will derive this relation ahead, but still here I am discussing the basics of NMR spectroscopy. So this magnetic moment, magnetic moment that is associated with the nucleus, this magnitude that is associated with the nucleus due to the spinning motion around the z-axis, okay. This magnetic moment, I have already told you that this is spinning around the z-axis. Suppose this is the charged particle, this is the z-axis, and it is the magnetic moment, okay, that is spinning around the z-axis. Quantum mechanically, this magnetic moment can have two allowed orientations along which it can be spin. These two orientations are plus 1 by 2 state or minus 1 by 2 state. How we get the which nucleus have how many orientations allowed? This is obtained by the formula. Suppose we write here number of orientations, NUMBER, number of orientations okay, allowed for the nucleus to spin, or number of orientations allowed for a magnetic moment to spin. We can call it as a MI values as well. MI, these are also known as number of orientations. We call it as a MI values. This is equal to the 2 into I plus 1. This is we can obtain the number of orientations by using this formula, and I in the formula is a spin nuclear quantum number. Spin nuclear quantum number. This I is nuclear nuclear spin quantum number. Suppose we have a hydrogen nucleus H1, its I value is 1 by 2. This I value is always given because it is obtained quantum mechanically and it involves the big calculations. So if anytime you face a numerical, there will be I value given definitely. Suppose we have a boron, having a boron 11, its I value is 3 by 2. If we substitute, this is the I value of hydrogen and this is the I value of boron. Suppose we want to know how many orientations are allowed for the hydrogen nucleus. How we get know? We substitute this I value in this formula, 2 into 1 by 2 plus 1, and it is equal to 2 and 2 will go, and 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. That means for our hydrogen nucleus, two MI values are possible, plus 1 by 2 comma and minus 1 by 2. Okay. For suppose we want to determine the number of Mi values for the boron, we simply substitute in this formula 2 into I. In place of I, we will write 3 by 2, 3 by 2 plus 1, 2 and 2 will go, 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. That means for our boron nucleus, we have 4 orientations allowed. And which are these 4s are? 4 orientations are plus 3 by 2, plus 3 by 2, plus 1 by 2, minus 1 by 2 and comma minus 3 by 2. Okay, this is the formula by which we can get the number of orientations allowed for the nucleus. Okay, but our discussions towards the H1 NMR, so it has a 2 nuclear spin orientations allowed, plus 1 by 2 state and minus 1 by 2 state. Okay, like in electron, we have 2 spin orientations, plus 1 by 2 and minus 1 by 2. Similarly, for a hydrogen nucleus, for a proton, we have the 2 spin orientations allowed for the magnetic moment to spin, that is plus 1 by 2 state and minus 1 by 2 state. Both the spin states are degenerate. Degenerate means that these two spin states having a same energy. They have some amount of energy, but both the spin states have the same energy. Okay, but the only difference between the two spin states is that one spin state will spin in the one direction, that is for example clockwise direction, and other spin state, if the magnetic moment is in other spin state, it will spin into the anti-clockwise direction, or vice versa. Only difference is that, but they are degenerate. Suppose I will write here these are our two spin status of hydrogen nucleus. I will write plus minus 1 by 2 status. Okay, this is our energy axis. Okay, this is our energy axis. These two spin states have some amount of energy. Suppose it is a x amount of energy. I don't know how much x is. Let us assign that it has a x amount of energy. Both the spin states have x amount of energy, and in this direction the energy is decreasing. Okay, and in this direction the energy is increasing. Okay, and in this direction the energy is increasing. What happens in NMR spectroscopy when we apply the external magnetic field to the hydrogen nucleus, or when we apply the external magnetic field? What happens to these spin states? We apply external magnetic field B0. Okay, we call the external magnetic field B0. When we apply the external magnetic field, these two spin states, one spin state will interact with the external magnetic field and one spin state will be repelled by the external magnetic field. Which spin state will interact and which spin state will repel? Conventionally, we take the plus 1 by 2 state will interact with the external magnetic field and minus 1 by 2 state will be repelled by the external magnetic field. Suppose when we apply the external magnetic field, what happens? The one spin state will interact. That conventionally we take plus 1 by 2 state will interact. Plus 1 by 2 state will interact with the external magnetic field. Okay, plus 1 by 2 state. Okay, and the minus 1 by state will be repelled by the external magnetic field, that is minus 1 by 2 state. With the result, by application of external magnetic field, the splitting of spin states will occur, and these two spin states were separated from each other by some energy gap that is equal to the delta E. Okay, this energy difference is equal to delta E. This delta E is equal to the E2 minus E1, that is E2 is this minus E1, that is equal to delta E. This delta E is equal to h nu. So we write here delta E is equal to h nu, and this is the Planck's constant and nu is the frequency. In NMR spectroscopy, it is very important to know that in NMR spectroscopy we use radio frequency. By application of radio frequency, there will be some phenomena that we discuss. When we shine over spin status by RF frequency, radio frequency, okay, what will happen? These two, this is plus 1 by 2 state. When we shine it with radio frequency, what happens? This plus 1 by 2 state flip into the minus 1 by 2 state, and this minus 1 by 2 state flip into the plus 1 by 2 state. That means or we can give you a more simpler word. This plus 1 by 2 state is converted into the minus 1 by 2 state. Philip, you understand that convert. Philip is a quantum word, and this plus 1 by 2 state will be converted into the minus 1 by 2 state, and this minus 1 by 2 state is converted into the plus 1 by 2 state. Or we can, in quantum language, we say that plus 1 by 2 state flip into the minus 1 by 2 state, and minus 1 by 2 state flip into the plus 1 by 2 state, or vice versa. And this process is known as a flipping, or more in quantum language we can say this process is known as a resonance. This is the basic principle of NMR spectroscopy. Okay, now after that there is a mechanism behind this, all the process, this how this interactions occur, what is the radio frequency is doing, and then how the flipping occurs. It is there is a huge and but very interesting mechanism behind this, theoretical mechanism, which is explained on the basis of a model. Now we will explain this mechanism of NMR, NMR spectroscopy, principle of spectroscopy, or mechanism of resonance in the next video. So please watch my next video, mechanism of NMR spectroscopy, where you will find all the how interactions will occur, then how, if the interactions will occur, then what is the role of radio frequency, how it flips the spin status into the one another. So thank you.